The scent of gardenias was supposed to be sweet, but to me, it smelled like betrayal. It hung heavy in the air of my parents' sprawling backyard, a fragrance chosen for my older brother Mark's engagement party. Twinkling fairy lights were strung through the ancient oak trees, and a small jazz quartet played something soft and sophisticated. It was a perfect, curated scene of family bliss. And I was the smudge on the canvas. I stood near the punch bowl, a ghost in a simple black dress, trying to look invisible. My hands were still faintly stained with engine grease from my afternoon shift at the auto shop, a detail that felt like a scarlet letter in this world of linen suits and pearl necklaces. Mark, my golden boy brother, was holding court at the center of the lawn, his arm wrapped possessively around his fiancée, Chloe. He was a carbon copy of our father, broad-shouldered, with a winning smile that never quite reached his eyes when he looked at me. Chloe was sweet, from a good family, and utterly oblivious to the undercurrents of our own. Our parents flitted between guests, their laughter a little too loud, their eyes skipping over me as if I were a piece of furniture they'd rather have stored in the attic. I was the family disappointment. While Mark was getting his MBA and climbing the corporate ladder, I was dropping out of community college to work with my hands. I fixed things. Cars, mostly. To them, it wasn't a career, it was a character flaw. I'd spent my own savings on a decent bottle of champagne as a gift, hoping it would be a peace offering. It sat unopened on the gift table, next to towering, elegantly wrapped boxes from Tiffany and Williams-Sonoma. I took a deep breath and decided to try. I walked towards my brother, a hesitant smile on my face. Mark? Chloe? Congratulations, you two look really happy. Mark turned, his smile tightening at the edges. Thanks, Lily. His gaze flickered over my dress. You clean up okay? Chloe beamed. Oh, Lily, we're so glad you could make it. It means so much to have all the family here. Before I could reply, Mark cut in, his voice low but sharp, meant only for me. Yeah, about that. Look, Lily, for the actual wedding, it's going to be a tight guest list. Very exclusive. At the country club. I think it might be better if you sat this one out. The words landed like a physical blow. The noise of the party faded into a dull roar in my ears. Sit this one out. His own sister. What? I stammered, my face burning. You know how it is, he said with a dismissive shrug. It's a matter of image. Dad's business partners will be there. The mayor. Your whole vibe, it just doesn't fit. You'd be uncomfortable. We all would be. He said vibe like it was a contagious disease. My vision blurred with hot, humiliated tears. I looked at my parents, who were suddenly very interested in a rose bush nearby. They'd heard. And they were saying nothing. Chloe looked horrified. Mark, what are you? It's fine, Chloe, Mark said smoothly, cutting her off. Lily understands. It's not personal. She just doesn't deserve the spot. Not when there are more important people to consider. You don't deserve. That was the phrase that broke me. Not the rejection, but the verdict. In his eyes, in my parents' silent complicity, I was undeserving. Unworthy of a seat at the table of my own brother's life. I didn't say a word. I just turned and walked away, my head held high even as the tears began to fall. I walked straight out of the garden, past the smiling, clueless guests, down the driveway, and didn't stop until I was in my beat-up pickup truck. I drove home to my small, cluttered apartment over the garage I rented for my business. The smell of oil and metal was a comfort. This was real. This was mine. I looked at my hands, the calluses, the scars, the faint grease stains. These hands built things. They solved problems. They were honest. What had Mark's hands ever built but a facade? A cold, hard resolve settled in my chest. The pain was still there, a raw, open wound, but it was now encased in ice. He thought I didn't deserve a seat at his wedding? Fine. I would buy myself a first-class seat to somewhere he could only dream of. I opened my laptop. While my family was toasting his future with cheap champagne and expensive lies, I was logging into my bank account. For the past 5 years, since I was 19, I had been pouring every extra penny into investments. Not the safe, boring stocks my father recommended, but volatile tech startups and cryptocurrency. I'd taught myself, spending my nights reading white papers and analyzing markets while Mark was at cocktail parties. It was my secret. My rebellion. My safety net. The numbers on the screen glowed back at me. The small, consistent deposits from my mechanic's salary had snowballed. The risky bets had paid off. Spectacularly. My net worth was just over $3 million. I opened a new tab. I went to a travel site. I didn't look for a hotel. I looked for a resort. The most exclusive, luxurious, breathtakingly beautiful resort I could find. I found it. A private villa in Maui, perched on a cliffside with an infinity pool that melted into the Pacific Ocean. It cost $5,000 a night. I booked it for 2 weeks. Then, I went to the airline website and booked a first-class ticket, one way, leaving tomorrow morning. I packed a single suitcase with my best clothes, a few simple sundresses, a nice pair of jeans. I didn't own anything that would fit in at a place like that, and I didn't care. I was done trying to fit in. The next morning, as my family was likely nursing hangovers and gossiping about my unstable reaction, I was at the airport. I sipped complimentary champagne in the first-class lounge, the quiet hum of luxury a balm to my soul. I posted a single, wordless picture on Instagram from the lounge, my boarding pass, with the destination, Kahului, Hawaii, clearly visible, and my well-worn work boots propped on my luxury carry-on. I tagged my brother. Then, I turned off my phone. As the plane soared above the clouds, leaving my old life as a speck on the ground, I felt the first genuine smile in years touch my lips. He told me I didn't deserve a seat at his party. So, I took a seat heading to paradise. And I was just getting started. The first breath of Hawaiian air was like a baptism. It was warm, humid, and smelled of plumeria and salt. A lei was placed around my neck, the flowers a vibrant, living contrast to the funereal gardenias of the night before. A sleek, private car whisked me away from the chaotic airport, up winding coastal roads that revealed glimpses of an impossibly blue ocean. The resort was not just a hotel, it was a fantasy. Lush, manicured gardens gave way to open-air lobbies with soaring thatched roofs. The staff moved with a quiet, graceful efficiency, their smiles genuine. I was shown to my villa, and when the door opened, I actually gasped. It was all dark wood and white linen, but the entire wall facing the ocean was glass, sliding open to a vast deck and that infinity pool. The Pacific stretched to the horizon, a vast, powerful expanse of shifting blues. The sound was a constant, gentle roar, the heartbeat of the planet. For the first 24 hours, I did nothing. I floated in the pool. I slept in the colossal bed. I ordered ridiculously expensive room service and ate fresh papaya while watching the sun rise. I let the luxury sink into my bones, washing away the residue of my family's contempt. I was healing. But the ice in my chest hadn't melted. It had just found a more beautiful backdrop. On the second day, I turned my phone back on. It exploded. Dozens of missed calls. My mother, my father, Mark. A torrent of texts. Mom, Lily, what is this? Where are you? We were so worried. Dad, this is incredibly irresponsible. Your brother is hurt. Call me immediately. Mark, are you serious? You're trying to show off? With what money? Did you take out a loan? You're going to ruin your credit. I scrolled through them, my face impassive. The concern was a mask for control. The accusation about the loan was pure Mark, unable to conceive that I could have anything he hadn't given me. Then I saw the messages from my Aunt Susan, my mother's free-spirited sister who lived in Arizona and was always slightly at odds with the family. Saw your pic. Good for you, kid. Your mom called me in a tizzy. Don't let them guilt you. You're my hero. P.S. The view is to die for. I smiled. At least someone got it. I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I opened Instagram. I gained a few hundred followers, a mix of curious family friends and strangers drawn in by the drama. I posted another picture. This one was of my view from the pool, my feet dangling in the water, the ocean sprawling ahead. The caption was simple. Some vibes are just worth the price tag. #Hawaii #silent revenge. The hashtag was a spur-of-the-moment addition, a nod to the YouTube channels I loved. It felt right. The comments section became a battlefield. Family friends, Lily, is that you? How wonderful, followed by my mother inevitably replying, it's a very impulsive trip, we're all quite concerned. Mark couldn't help himself. He commented directly, glad you having fun with the money you don't have. Hope the debt is worth it. That was his mistake. He engaged publicly. I decided to have a little fun. I replied to his comment, a move that would ensure all our mutual friends would see it. Thanks for your concern, Mark. Don't worry, it's all paid for in cash. Funny how fixing things for a living can actually be quite profitable. Enjoy the gardenias. Hibiscus. I attached a photo of the breakfast tray that had just arrived, complete with a single, stunning orchid in a tiny vase. The digital silence from his end was deafening. I could imagine his sputtering fury, the confused questions from his friends. I thought your sister was a mechanic. This was the quiet part one was enjoying the most. The dismantling of their narrative about me. I wasn't the poor, struggling, unstable sister. I was a woman sipping mai tais in a 5-star resort, and I was funding it myself. I spent my days exploring. I learned to surf, laughing as I wiped out over and over. I hiked through lush jungles to hidden waterfalls. I treated myself to a spa day that cost more than my first car. With every experience, I felt the unworthy label my family had slapped on me crack and fade. One evening, I was having a cocktail at the resort's open-air beach bar, watching the sun set in a blaze of orange and purple. An older gentleman sat down on the stool next to me. He had a kind, weathered face and intelligent eyes. Beautiful, isn't it, he said, nodding toward the horizon. Breathtaking, I agreed. We got to talking. His name was Robert. He was a semi-retired investor from San Francisco. We talked about travel, then about life. He asked me what I did, and for the first time, I said it with unashamed pride. I'm a mechanic. I own my own auto shop. His eyebrows rose, not in judgment, but in interest. Really? That's fantastic. A skilled trade. A dying art. What kind of work do you specialize in? We talked for over an hour. He was fascinated by my knowledge of European engines and my business model. He didn't see a failure, he saw an entrepreneur. The respect in his eyes was a gift. As he was leaving, he handed me his card. I've got a vintage Porsche that's been giving a guy in Monterey fits. If you're ever interested in a challenge, look me up. I have a feeling you're the one who could actually fix it. I took the card, my heart swelling. This was validation from the real world, not the twisted funhouse mirror of my family. I went back to my villa, feeling stronger than I ever had. The revenge wasn't just about flaunting my wealth. It was about rediscovering my worth. I opened my laptop and booked another week at the resort. Then, I opened a new tab. I started designing a website for my auto shop. A sleek, professional one. I was going to rebrand. Lily's Garage was going to become Precision Auto Works. My silent revenge was evolving. It was no longer about escaping them. It was about building a life so audaciously good that their rejection would become the best thing that ever happened to me. And back home, completely unaware, my brother was about to light the fuse that would make everything explode. The paradise bubble was blissful, but I knew I couldn't stay in it forever. After 10 days, the initial, raw pain had been replaced by a steely determination. I was making plans, real plans, for my business and my life. The vacation was no longer an escape, it was a strategic retreat. Then, my Aunt Susan called. Lily, honey, she said, her voice uncharacteristically serious. You need to get online. Now. Your brother, he's lost his mind. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. What did he do? Just look. And honey? Don't you dare let him get to you. You're stronger than all of them put together. I hung up and opened Facebook. I didn't have to search for long. Mark had posted a long, rambling, and very public status update. It was a masterpiece of passive aggression and wounded ego. It's amazing how some people choose to handle their pain, it began. Instead of dealing with their problems and being happy for others, they resort to flashy, irresponsible stunts. Watching a family member spiral, spending money they don't have to create a fantasy life, is truly heartbreaking. It's a cry for help, and as a family, we are trying to be there for her. But true worth isn't measured in first-class tickets or Instagram photos. It's measured in character. And right now, my focus is on building a future with my fiancé, on a foundation of honesty and hard work, not deceit and delusion. The comments were a flood of support for him. So sorry you're going through this, Mark. You're a good man for standing by her. Some people just can't handle seeing others succeed. My mother had commented, we love you, son. We will get through this as a family. My father, proud of the man you've become. I sat there, the Hawaiian sun warming my skin, but inside, I was frozen. The audacity. The sheer, venomous hypocrisy. He had taken my revenge, my quiet, personal reclamation of joy, and twisted it into a narrative where he was the victim, the noble brother concerned for his unstable sister. The old me would have cried. The old me would have felt shame. The new me felt only a cold, clarifying rage. He wanted to talk about honesty? About hard work? About a foundation? Fine. Let's talk. I didn't comment. I didn't message him. I went straight to my laptop, my fingers flying across the keyboard with a purpose they'd never had before. I was done being silent. I created a simple, elegant graphic using a free online design tool. On a clean, white background, in a bold, modern font, I wrote, what spiral looks like underneath. I laid out the facts, bullet pointed with brutal clarity. 5 years of 80-hour weeks building a business from nothing, a 750+ credit score, a diversified investment portfolio, managed personally * this trip to Hawaii, paid in full with cash. No loans. No debt. * then, I created a second graphic. What hard work and honesty looks like. This one was trickier. I didn't have proof. But I had memories. Vivid ones. The full-ride scholarship to college that mom and dad actually paid for, after you failed to maintain the GPA requirement. The promotion at dad's firm that was handed to you, not earned * the BMW you bought yourself, that was really a gift from dad for not getting expelled after the fraternity hazing incident. * I didn't have documents, but I knew the truth of these stories. And more importantly, the people who mattered in our small world knew they were true. It was the open secret everyone politely ignored. I took a screenshot of his status and his comments, ensuring my parents' supportive messages were visible. Then, I opened my photo gallery and selected a handful of my most stunning Hawaii pictures: the villa, the pool, the sunsets, me laughing on a surfboard. I opened a new blog, a free one I could set up in minutes. I titled the post, "Might Spiral, a Response." I posted the 2 graphics, the screenshot of his status, and my photos. Then, I wrote from the heart. I didn't use flowery language. I was direct. My brother publicly accused me of being irresponsible, deceitful, and delusional because I took a vacation. He said I was spiraling. He told me I didn't deserve a seat at his engagement party because my vibe didn't fit. So, I left. I bought my own seat, first class, to a place where my vibe fits just fine. The money I spent? I earned it. Every single dollar. With these hands. The same hands my family is ashamed of. They have chosen to build their foundation on appearances, on lies of omission, on the relentless pursuit of an image that has no substance. My foundation is built on calluses, on solved problems, and on the quiet satisfaction of a job done well. So, Mark, you can have your gardenias and your country club wedding. You can have the approval of parents who value status over their own child. I'm done trying to earn a love that was always conditional. I'm in Hawaii. I'm happy. And I built this happiness myself. That's a spiral I'm proud to be on. I didn't tag anyone. I simply posted the link to the blog on my personal Facebook page, with the caption, "The truth deserves a seat at the table, too." Then, I closed my laptop, walked out to my infinity pool, and dove into the cool, clear water. I had just thrown a grenade into the center of my family's perfectly constructed world. And I didn't feel a single ounce of regret. The explosion was immediate. My phone started ringing incessantly, first my mother, sobbing. Then my father, roaring with fury. Then Mark, sputtering threats. I sent them all to voicemail. But the other calls, the ones from old school friends, from cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, from my Aunt Susan who was cackling with glee, those I took. They had seen the blog. They were cheering me on. The narrative had flipped. The unstable sister was now the triumphant underdog. The golden boy was exposed as a privileged, petty fraud. My silent revenge was now a very public reckoning. And the fallout was only just beginning. The fallout from my blog post was a Category 5 hurricane in the small, stagnant pond of my family's social circle. I watched it unfold from my deck in Maui, a spectator to the implosion of a dynasty built on sand. My father called, his voice a strained, hollow echo of its usual authority. "Lily, you have to take it down. You're destroying your brother's reputation. The partners at the firm are asking questions." "I'm just telling the truth, Dad," I said calmly. "If the truth destroys his reputation, then maybe his reputation wasn't built on anything real." He hung up on me. My mother called next, her tears now ones of real panic. "The wedding? Chloe's parents, they're having second thoughts. They think there's too much drama. You've ruined everything." "Mark ruined it when he told his own sister she wasn't good enough to be there," I replied, my voice softer but no less firm. "I just held up a mirror, Mom. If you don't like what you see, that's not the mirror's fault." The most satisfying call, in a dark way, was from Mark. The bluster was gone, replaced by a wheedling, desperate tone I'd never heard from him. "Lily, please," he begged. "You've made your point. Just delete the post. Chloe she's freaking out. Her friends are all talking about it." "And what about my friends, Mark?" I asked. "What about my life, which you tried to paint as a pathetic lie? You went public." I just responded in kind. "You've humiliated me," he cried. "Good," I said simply, and ended the call. I extended my stay in Hawaii for a third week. The chaos back home was a distant storm. I was at peace. I had drawn my line in the sand, and the tide had washed away everything that wasn't solid. It was during this third week that I got the email. It was from Robert, the investor I'd met at the bar. "Lily, I hope you're still enjoying paradise. I couldn't resist doing a little digging after our conversation. I found your blog. Impressive work, both on the cars and the writing. You've got guts." I meant what I said about the Porsche. I'm also looking to invest in small businesses with strong, authentic founders. If you're interested in expanding Precision Auto Works, maybe a second location, specializing in European imports, I'd like to talk. No pressure. The offer stands whenever you're ready. Attached was a formal letter of intent, outlining a potential investment that would triple the size of my business. I stared at the screen, tears of a completely different kind welling in my eyes. This was it. This was the universe, or karma, or just plain old hard work, opening a door that my family had always told me was locked. I flew home a few days later, a different person. I wasn't returning to my old life, I was arriving in my new one. I moved out of my apartment over the garage and bought a small, modern condo with a view of the city. I hired 2 new mechanics with the investment from Robert. Precision Auto Works was launched with a professional website and a marketing campaign that leaned into my story, the skilled female mechanic who knew her stuff. The wedding, I heard through the grapevine, was a tense, scaled-down affair. My parents looked strained in the photos. Mark looked like he was wearing a mask. I felt nothing when I saw them. They were ghosts. About 6 months after I returned, a package arrived at my shop. It was heavy, wrapped in plain brown paper. Inside was a beautiful, hardbound photo album. The first page was a picture of me, at age 7, sitting on the hood of my dad's old Ford, a giant grin on my grease-smudged face, holding a wrench almost as big as my arm. Tucked into the album was a note, in my father's shaky handwriting. Lily, I found this while cleaning out the attic. I had forgotten this version of you. I was wrong. We were all wrong. You were always meant to build things. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. I'm proud of the woman you've become. Love, Dad, I cried then, for the little girl who just wanted her dad to be proud, and for the years we had lost. It wasn't a full reconciliation. The wounds were too deep for that. But it was an acknowledgement. A start. I never heard from Mark again. Some silences are better left unbroken. My revenge was never about hurting them. It was about reclaiming myself. By refusing to accept their definition of my worth, I had forced them, and myself, to see the truth. I was never the problem. I was the solution they were too blind to appreciate. I got a postcard from Aunt Susan a year later. It was a picture of a stunning Hawaiian sunset. On the back, she'd written, "See? I told you your vibe would fit. You didn't just fly to Hawaii, kid. You built a whole new shoreline. Keep building. Love, Aunt Susan." I framed that postcard and put it in my office at the new, expanded Precision Auto Works. It reminds me that the most powerful revenge is a life lived joyfully, authentically, and on your own terms. The brother who said I didn't deserve a seat at his table is now a footnote in the story of the sister who built her own kingdom. Revenge isn't always about confrontation. Sometimes, it's about transformation. It's just about taking the rejection they handed you and using it as the fuel to launch yourself into a stratosphere they can never reach. Your worth isn't a seat at someone else's table, it's the foundation of your own empire. This has been Silent Revenge.